E-scooters are a great way to get around town during the summer, but it is very important to stay safe while riding.
Joined with us today is Tyler T. Todd, attorney and partner from We Win Injury Law, to share some tips to prevent injuries and collisions in this sponsored interview. And those scooters have gotten so popular. I see them everywhere. They look like a lot of fun, but also I know of a lot of crashes.
They're awesome, and they are fun, and it's great to get around town and great to do all those different things on scooters, and the kids love them, of course, but they're very dangerous.
And let's go ahead and add e-bikes to the mix, because they are still, both of them combined, it can be really dangerous if we don't follow some of these safety rules.
Yeah, so one thing we want to make sure that our community knows, we're getting into summer, the kids are out of school, and we see more and more, and we actually represent a family that just lost their 15-year-old boy on an e-bike. You gotta wear your helmets, and you gotta have the proper clothing. Just the other night, my son was like all black, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, you gotta be prepared.
When you say proper clothing, are you talking about maybe some reflective gear at night, or something covering like all of your body for road rash, like all of the above?
Well, as a parent myself, ideally you want to put them in full gear, right?
Right, you want the reflecting everything, and yes, all the bright lights.
But definitely a helmet, and definitely bright clothing. And so you want to assume that drivers can't see you. And so you want to definitely have bright clothing.
And it's really a great reminder, especially now because school is out. You mentioned tourists are all over the state. Your office particularly is in St. George, and people are out. Maybe they don't know the roads as much. And then you have e-bikers and e-scooters around, and people aren't paying attention as much as they should.
Yeah, and I think that throughout the entire state, right? We have a great state with beautiful national parks, so the tourists are coming in with everyone out of school, and our kids and the weather's great, and so yeah, our kids are out on the roads, and so that one, wear the helmets, light clothing, and be aware, there's a lot of construction too, so be aware of the construction around you, and be aware that if there's a pothole or it reroutes you, kind of know where you're going, and hopefully parents know where their kids are going to. I know that's hard, but
the road, that is so important. The few accidents that I've heard about on the e-bike is because there was a raised part of a sidewalk or an uneven road. So to really be alert on the streets, on the sidewalks where you are, that is key.
Right, and that's just letting them know that even the smallest little crack could maybe throw them.
Well, and you talk about construction, it is everywhere. So those blind spots are also everywhere, all the different ways and detours you have to take, and maybe darting out into the road, or this is a great reminder for drivers to really pay attention.
Well, and also you have to remember too, scooters and e-bikes, you have to follow the rules of the road. And so pay attention to stop signs, and that's a big deal. With kids that are just maybe not aware of a stop sign that they have to stop, the driver does have that right of way. So you have to be very mindful of that.
Oh, always err on the side of that safety. And I like this one, inspect that bike, make sure the brakes, the wheels, the handles are working perfectly. And I would love to add too, there's a learning curve with an e-bike. Little kids have to get used to what's go, what's stop, how do I do it?
Yeah, and that's something that we've actually talked about in our own house, because we have some e-scooters and we have some e-bikes, but even our e-scooter wheels, we've noticed, are really bald, and we're like, wait, if it starts to rain or if gravel, and so we're trying to make sure that our kids are aware, hey, those tires are not great. That's a risk fall.
Well, and then you talked about the learning curve, and I'm going to call you out, Tyler. You said your son, after just 4 days of getting an e-bike, he broke his arm.
Yeah, we were really reluctant to do that, and we just thought, well, they're so fun and they're great, and then sure enough, 4 days after we have it in our house, he breaks his arm. And so, you have to be aware of the speeds of these scooters and bikes. They're so fast. And so make sure that they're properly geared out, make sure they're following the traffic rules, and make sure they know where they're going and where they're riding. That's super important.
Well, an accident can happen in the blink of an eye. We have a couple e-bikes too, and do you remember when my 8-year-old hopped on one? He didn't have his helmet on. He thought he was sitting on it, didn't realize it was on. It took off with him on it. He ended up having a crash. Could have been a lot worse. That's why we're always in a helmet.
Yeah, and so even the smallest of, like, the little crash, and so even with all the kids in parking lots and they're going to go get their drinks at Swig or wherever, you know, down the street, even the smallest parking lot little crash could have catastrophic injuries in the event they hit their head. And so the helmet, you have to have the helmet. That's a must.
And we're not saying don't have fun, because the object is to have fun, but take a pause, get the helmet on, know the rules of the road, and then you can have the fun. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Absolutely.
You have 4 offices across Utah. In St. George, you have one in Hurricane, and hopefully
Cedar City,
Orem, and then hopefully coming up here in the Wasatch Front.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we're
you
excited.
so much. Great tips.
And thanks to We Win Injury Law for sponsoring this interview.